Welcome to Nairobi, the promise and complete ideology of hope to both the Eastern Africans and its indigenous countryside inhabitants. A hope similar to that which most Africans have always had of winning that coveted green card to the great Americas. Or is it the United States of America? Could I for a moment have been a bit harsh with my verdict, having related a late 20th century phenomena to the present? Yet, this is not a green card rush I am talking about, but with so much ease would I relate the same African America's influx to that of the East Africans' rural Nairobi migration. Before I go into the depths and data of this influx into the green city under the sun, allow me to say, blessed days and pleasant nights. Welcome. Now welcome to this city that sits the promise and end goal of most aspiring young Kenyans raised up in the countryside. Welcome to the dreams that point towards success, but with a twist of track can each of them stand shattered under the jaws and grip of the same city and streets that all but initially promised affluence. Now welcome to your city, welcome to my city, and welcome to our city. Now with a city whose demographics point towards a youth generational shift from the countryside of up to 26% by the year 2005, you would think that such would be the trend for most, coming to look for greener pastures in the city under the sun. For one young lad called Rashid Ibrahim, hailing from one of Nairobi's least spoken of slums, the story seems to be quite different, yet a total reflection of a portion of this beautiful city that is Nairobi. Come along with me to Dandora, the birthplace of Kenya's earliest hip-hop songs, with a dire cry for recognition. Yet, like most man-eat-man societies, do these cries drain down the trench of filth, just as our beautiful cool Nairobi river does, into the backyard of filth and total forgetfulness. You see, an 11 o'clock drive finds me on a smooth tarmac northern bypass, branching off from the Thuraku voting zone of Kiambu, as I connect into the amazing Thika Road superhighway that leads off Nairobi Central Business District, and with a little slip off the survey flyover and onto the Eastlands Outer Ring Road circuit do I find myself in a mixed low and high-rise, low to middle income establishment on the eastern shoulder of the famous Nairobi Eastleigh. Of course, low to their inhabitants and middle to their high-rise landlords. We are in Dandora, the hip-hop and love slum. We would actually call it a suburb for absence of mud or even carton houses, as is common to most Nairobi slums, but still, slum sounds much easier to comprehend for most, as we are not in the Eastern Harlem but instead in the Nairobi Eastlands. Meeting up with Rashid Ibrahim is fun, a young, jolly lad whose pop now lives in the village, and mother, may the Almighty rest her soul in peace, is now no more. With his directions all on point, even telling me to use Google Maps, I am all but delighted as he comes up to me, hops in, and directs me to a quiet parking spot near a respected and yet feared political spot. At this spot, he assures me that the car is safe, as no goons can sneak up and vandalize it in any way. I am all ears and smiles as we get into his very homely single-room abode. He advises me to leave my bag so we can set out through the neighborhood on foot. It surprises me that at the age of 24 and having lived in this side of the city, even Rashid himself is wary of its inhabitants and has to dress as simply as possible to blend in with the rest. But who would blame him in a neighborhood where a little progression like owning a camera, like he does that is, sets you to be looked upon as a food line and hence a target for unsolicited attacks? Yet, for a lad who has lived on the rough sides of this city, he looks simple enough with no rough edges to him. A pointer that explains how he has managed to take care of his younger siblings at an early age of 24. Starting out as a broker for anything and everything, and with the advent of YouTube in the year 2005, he has learned how to handle a camera, starting at an early age with his father's single pixel phone cameras and becoming a master in his art. With his camera in question, does this narration take me to what first drew me to these Eastlands sides of Dandora? Now, with practice and time, has Rashid Ibrahim developed the art of hood photography, both portrait and nature, yet not the kind of nature you would imagine, for instead of an amazing hillside sunset, his photography draws me to 30 hectares of mountainous garbage sunset that is the refuse and dump site of all of Nairobi's waste. Quite a shocker this is, as within this dump site have some of the low-income earners found a source of livelihood. Harvesting through the same waste to find remains that can be resold for between 10 to 50 Kenya shillings and hence put food on the table. Not to mention that such a venture would come with its downsides and even health risks. The same still is Rashid Ibrahim's inspiration as he seeks to find ways to make these people's livelihoods even much better through his photography that speaks more for itself than 1,000 words ever could. Now, beauty to this is that he doesn't do it single-handedly, but instead he uses the help of a few like-minded individuals. Now, at this moment, my dear trader, would I request that you take a moment with me and listen to some of the garbage scavengers' views, and you will be shocked at the same.
Kwanza kama kwa hii wakati tunaona kama hizi zinatoka maosi, hizo tunaona hazifai, tunaona zinakuja bado sisi ndio tunazishika na hii mkono. Sasa hiyo kitu naona hata ikikuja huku inaweza leta watu shida juu hata saa zingine unaonanga kumekuja na vitu za osi, mtu ametoa kitu hapa ameanza kukula, inakuwa imeshikana na hizo mada inakuwa bado ni shida juu unapata labda ni dawa ya kushinda mtu nguvu na ashaikula ana faint. Sasa kabla muelewe usijue ni hiyo takataka mali imetoka, unaona tu ni stress. Sasa kama inawezekana hizo vitu za hosi hata kama wanazichomea tu na kama wanatafuta mahali wanazimwaga wanazichomea.
With this massive dump site in view, it is difficult to see the hope that most people crave for when they come into the city. At least, looking at it from this end of the lens, it almost seems like a far cry. But from Rashid Ibrahim's lens, it is amazing that he can still say it. Hope, that is.
So, tell me, Rashid, why is land of photography?
It's land of photography. It's a photography that speaks for the community. It's a photography that I normally tell stories that happen in my hood here in Dandora. It's the stories that me, myself, sometimes I speak through the lens, showing my emotion, showing my emotion to the world and people around us. So I believe I bring in a lot of impact through my work.
Okay.
Yeah.
I am sorry for this. I know it's your show, but would I simplify Islam or photography from my perspective as a story told through the lens in words that cannot be expressed? That makes sense.
That really makes sense.
Okay.
Because sometimes you can, like, these are another book is for, but the picture itself so emotions.
It speaks for itself.
Yeah.
I think that is where I see in part of the story, his photos themselves speak much more than 1,000 words to tell.
Really?
Is that it?
Yeah.
Awesome.
With his view through the lens, does he take me to the river flow that are the cool waters of Nairobi River, having collected some of the garbage with it from the massive dump site just right ahead. It flows down what is supposed to be a spectacle of a waterfall within the city with a myriad of garbage within its waters. And with all this garbage in it, do we find a boundary between our hip-hop slum Dandora and lucky summer on the west, whilst the famous Baghdad falls to its south? Nothing fancy to look at, as even my sunset stares angrily over my balding forehead. Now, please don't miss the houses and settlements that hang so close to this dirty river. It is 5 o'clock and Rashid has to take a scary shot of some young school-going kids who must cross a dreadful gully breakout to and fro every day from school. Their home, or what they call one, is a shanty of iron sheets that leans dangerously next to the flowing gully stream. Well, I do not know if it is of worth to note that just across the main road, that is 100 meters from this point, lays a newly reinstituted and commissioned public hospital. I guess we could take them there, that is the kids, for healthcare once they slip and fall down the scary ditch. Or what do you think? And hoping that the public funds allocated for the same wouldn't have already been consumed by the hungry waiting wolves for administrators. I don't know. At this point, I am all but sweaty, and I am worried at the same time, yet looking at the resilience and determination of this young slum photographer, one who won't get some well-paying jobs when he mentions to his clients that he is coming from Dandora. I must admit that within me is a spark of hope ignited despite all the odds surrounding. We break it off as I drive past the mountainous garbage with the sun now off its anchors. My heart realizes that despite the strangling of hope on this neck of the woods, still, Nairobi, my supposed green city in the sun, has some hope left for the likes of Rahiba, that is, Rashid Ibrahim, who will not depend on the government of the day to come to their aid, but instead take action upon themselves. Now this, my dear traders, is a piece of the slum life of Nairobi, Eastlands. I do not know if you'd want me to share more about other slums within Nairobi, like the famous Kibra, that is Africa's biggest urban slum. So now until the next time we hit a different portion of this beloved city, and hoping that your suggestions will propel us forward, please subscribe for more series coming up. So stay blessed and stay safe. It's PePa, the sketches of life.